Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Katie, a member of the CK-12 team, and my colleague Felix and I will be running this learning management breakout session on CK-12 and Canvas or Schoology. We're so glad you've joined us. While we are hosting this as part of the CK-12 Certified Educator Program, this is not one of those core sessions, meaning there isn't an assignment that goes with it, and it does not count toward your 5 live session requirement. We do, however, have a great session resource page for you in the matching topic in Google Classroom. This includes both a page on Schoology and one on Canvas. We also just posted it in the chat window, or I'll pull that up shortly, and see if you want to access it directly. Given this is meant to be a short webinar to specifically highlight CK-12's integration with Canvas and Schoology, let's jump right into the content. As we go, feel free to post any questions you have for us in the Q&A window. In this webinar, we'll be covering the following topics: setting up your CK-12 in your LMS, so talking about requesting keys for enterprise and individual versions of Canvas and Schoology. If you're using an LMS, you should plan to assign content there and skip creating classes within CK-12. So just kind of breaking the divide between CK-12 classes and a learning management system, so kind of stick with one or the other as a reminder as we talk about this. Then we'll talk about integration with Canvas, so creating assignments and seeing student scores as well as detailed reports in your gradebook. And finally, our current integration with Schoology, which allows you to create assignments and see student scores in your gradebook. Our main goal is that by the end of this session, you'll know about the LMS integrations we offer with Canvas and Schoology, including how to set them up, assign content, and review the reported scores within those platforms. So in order to install CK-12 in Canvas or Schoology, your school or district first needs to get a key from CK-12 by filling out this request form. So we're going to pop that form in the chat window today, but you can also find it at our Tools and Apps page. That direct link is at the bottom, or you can use this short link at the top of this page. And then click on the CK-12 on Schoology or CK-12 on Canvas links, and it will pull up that form so that you can actually access and apply for the key to integrate on the back end. And Felix is going to demo kind of the pieces on integration when he goes live in a few minutes. Now, as we've been discussing, we have an LTI app that's compatible with Canvas and Schoology. The app allows you to assign content from CK-12 and select resources from your CK-12 library to assign to your students. But I want to take just a minute before I pass this off to Felix to talk about what those modalities are. So we have kind of some core concept modalities that you can assign to students. They include reads, so that could be a section of a textbook or a standalone read on our site. Videos that are in kind of separate from, if you assign the read, they'll access them cleanly. But if you want to get kind of a check on whether or not students did those, you could assign videos separately to your students. Our Plix interactives and our simulations, those are our two kind of interactive pieces. We have Plix interactives for math and science branches, and right now we have chemistry and physics simulations that are available. You could assign practice to students. That includes both our adaptive practice options and customized practice into what we call quizzes. And if you missed our customizing CK-12 adaptive practice and assignment session, you can learn more about kind of that customization piece in that session. And then finally, our real-world applications, or what we call our RWAs. As I've kind of referenced, we cover many of these in depth in other sessions, but I just want to spend a second talking to you about what you'll get if you assign any of these particular modalities to your students. So when you're assigning practice, practice is a learning tool, and so our goal is for students to get 10 correct. It will adapt to how they are doing. And they can stop that practice and turn it in at any point in time. If they get 10 correct in CK-12, they would get a % out of 100. In an LMS, let's say you made that assignment worth 20 points. If they got 50% of them correct, or 5 questions in adaptive practice, they would get a score of 10. If they got all 100 correct, they would get a score of 20, if that's the score that you chose within your learning management system. They can turn that in any point in time up until that due date, and continue to submit it after more times up until that due date. For quizzes, you set the number of questions that you want your students to have, and all students get the same exact questions and the same number of questions. With that, the percent would be out of the total number of questions for the questions that they got correct. And once again, in CK-12, it's a percent out of 100, and it's a percent out of the total score that you chose in your learning management system. Our reads, videos, and real-world applications are text and video modalities. You're simply getting a check if they actually open them and access them in our system. So in CK-12, you get a check mark, but in a learning management system like Canvas or Schoology, whatever that score would be, they either have no credit for doing that because they haven't accessed and turned it in yet, or they get the full score. There's no kind of in-between piece. Similarly, our Plix interactives and our simulations, those are learning tools and exploratory tools, and so there's no score attached to them. It's full or no credit. But for those, we force them to actually start interacting with that in some way. So in a Plix, they have to try a challenge question before they can turn in. And in a simulation, they have to start exploring that opening question before the turn in button will even show up on those options. So this particular sheet is available as part of the Getting Started with Practice session resource page. It also happens to be on the Google Classroom one. So if you ever need to reference that, check that out on our practice options. And then you can kind of remember, what am I assigning? What do I expect to get on my score report? And how does that work out? So I think with that, we're going to actually have Felix go live and show you kind of setting up in your LMS, as well as a little bit more detail on Canvas and Schoology, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Katie. Hello, everybody. My name is Felix, and I'm going to first kind of show you guys how to set things up. So as Katie mentioned, we do have a form that you'd fill out to request the keys that you're going to need to install these apps. And this is our tools and apps page, and you can find that on our website at the bottom of the footer. Yeah, here you go. So if you were to click on any of these, it's going to pull up the form that you need to fill out. So basically, this is just going to ask for your name, your role, estimate of the number of students and teachers in your district, how you plan to use this integration, and then if you're using like something that's enterprise and you have sort of your own custom instance, you would be whatever that location is or whatever that URL is. You could put that there, and then once you submit this, we will get back to you with your key and secret. And so for that piece, I'm going to take you through that. So once you do have either the key and secret sent from us, I'll show you kind of where to go within Canvas, and then I'll jump over to Schoology and show you there as well. So I'm already logged in to my Canvas account. This account doesn't have admin privileges. So I'm going to go into a course. And if you are an admin or IT administrator and you do have that permissions, there will be an admin sort of section or panel over here that you can click on. And then once you choose like the organization, there's going to be a settings option as well. And let me click on that. And it looks identical pretty much to this. So here's where you're going to find the CK-12 app. And you can simply search for CK-12. That's us. Click on Add App. And then here's where you're going to enter your key and secret. And then once you get that set up, I'll show you in a second how we start creating assignments. But let me jump over to Schoology. And Schoology actually just like updated their page here. So it looks a little different from if you've seen any other webinars. It looks a little different, but for the most part, it's still the same. So let me go into course here. Actually, no. Okay, they moved their app center, so I'm trying to figure out where. Oh, here it is. Okay. So you're going to go ahead and click on the app center. And then in here, we are actually one of the featured apps. So you can click on CK-12. And then once you have your sort of your key and secret, you can click install. Once it's installed, you'll start seeing this. So you can choose which courses you want to install it for, and then go ahead and click install. The one thing we do recommend, so if you're using either Canvas or Schoology as an enterprise sort of solution, the enterprise version rather, you should have the IT person or whoever's managing that instance install the apps for you. That way it's installed for everyone there, and you don't have to like go in each course and try to set it up individually. So with that said, I'll start. I'm going to go back to Canvas and start with Canvas on creating assignments. So let me do that now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click on the assignments here. I'm already inside of one of my courses here. I do have some assignments that I've previously assigned from an earlier webinar. But from here, what I'm going to go ahead and do is click on the assignments, add assignment button. So this should look familiar for those of you who have been using Canvas. This is just the assignment kind of interface. You can set how many points you want here. But the important thing for our application is right here under submission type, you want to make sure it says external tool. I think sometimes by default it's selected as something else. If it is, just go ahead and select external tool. And then once you do that, if you click on find here, so for you, you might have other ones, but CK-12 should show up for you. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. So now this app is launching. And one quick thing I'll point out is this, what you're seeing right now is kind of an older version of the app that we still have out, but I'm going to kind of skip that to show you what the new experience that we have. Basically, it allows you to assign more resources. And when I show you Schoology, you'll see the same interface as this. So this is pretty much our website, just kind of tailored and stripped down to some more simplified nav. And then this is the exact same browse page you'd see if you went directly to our website. So from here, you can browse all these subjects. So I'll go ahead and pick Earth Science. And you can also search for something as well. But I'm going to go ahead and go through Earth Science. Let's check out planet Earth. And let's just pull up atoms and molecules. So you should see sort of all these resources here. And like Katie had mentioned earlier, they're the ones that you can assign. So there's a read, there's a Plix, there's a video, there's a practice, there's a real world application. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this practice. And for all those kind of, for most of the cards, creating the assignment is the same. So once you get to a page like this and you see this create assignment on the left here, go ahead and click on that, and that's going to create the assignment. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And so now it has created a link with all the assignment information. So I'm just going to go ahead and select that. And then from here, you can set up your assignment details. So I'm just going to give it a title. It's still assigned. I'm going to go ahead and save. I'll do save and publish. If you just save it and don't publish it, then it won't show up for your students. So then once this is saved, I'm still on the teacher account, but it's going to load kind of the practice itself. So you could preview it and go through the questions if you want. So that's kind of creating sort of our, so that workflow is the same for our reads, practice, and videos assignments. I'm going to go ahead and show you sort of creating like a sim assignment. And then also show you how to assign something from your library. So again, I'm going to go ahead and click preview. And then I'm going to show you guys like assigning a simulation, just because it has a slightly different sort of interaction. So I'm going to click on this simulations, and notice there's a pop-up that came up and it's blocking. So I'm going to go ahead and click allow. And I'm going to do that one more time. And so from here, this is our simulation browse page. Notice it opened in a new window. If I switch back over, you can go ahead and leave this alone for now. While you're browsing here, you can go ahead and sort of browse. And once you see something you like, let's do butterfly strip. You can click and open the simulation. So once this loads, you'll see a option to create an assignment. So that's up here. If I click on that, so it basically did the same thing, but I just wanted to show you that it does open in a new tab to give you that full real estate. And so again, I'll do this and I'll say sim. Oops. I'll leave the points as is, and then I'm going to go ahead and save and publish because I want to show you one thing about our interactives. And since they're interactives, they do require a larger real estate. So if you might get this if you assign, but there is a sort of way to remedy that. So I'm going to go back into the assignment section settings. And if I scroll down, so right here, there's an option to open it in a new tab, and I'm going to go ahead and check that off. So I would do that for Plix, any Plix assignments, and as well as a simulation assignment such as this. So now if I save it, you'll see this button here. If you click on that, this will open the assignment for you. So if you're doing any assignments with simulations or Plix and you see sort of a window that's saying you don't have the right real estate, just go ahead and configure that assignment to open in a new window and you should be all set. And then one more thing, I'm going to show you guys assigning something from your library, because I know that's seems to be pretty common for a lot of teachers and educators. Again, I'm going to go here, select CK-12. And the other reason I'm going to the new version is because in this version of the library, you don't get access to your Flexbooks. And so the new version kind of gives you access to more resources. And so from here, I'm just going to go ahead and click on my library. And so you'll see pretty much everything that's in your library. And from here, you could assign like this read. If you had any quizzes, you can also do that. So I'll go ahead and open this up just to point a couple things out. So with our assignments in general, we don't allow you to assign the entire book. You can only assign like the sections. So if you're looking to assign this for your entire as an assignment, you won't be able to do that. You can go directly to CK-12 and copy the URL that's in the browser bar here, and then insert that as a link, just like you would any other link to another website. But to create an assignment and have it be graded, you'd have to assign a section. So notice there's no create assignment action here, but now you do see it. So if I do create assignment, it's going to create that assignment there, and then quickly I'll show you because it also has a different view, which might be a little unexpected for some. So just let me save. I'm not going to publish this one, but just to kind of show you how it looks after you assign it. So notice it's been stripped down. You don't have the navigation there. This is kind of what we call our embedded view. So instead of getting like the entire navigation and all these different buttons, you just get the content. It still has their videos and whatever content you have in there. And so with that, I will pause now from the teacher, and I'll kind of show you what the student side of it looks like. All right, so let me get over to Canvas. So I'm in Canvas. This is the same class. Let me just refresh. And I'm in the assignments themselves. So let me show you. Okay, so I'll pull up a Plix that I had previously assigned. And so the Plix does load in here. I should have had this open in a new window. But let me show you. So this, if you were to assign a Plix, this is kind of what the interaction for the student would look like. So it's going to require you to kind of attempt to answer some questions. Once you do that, you get this notification here. So it's like, so for the student to get credit, they have to at least attempt a question for a Plix. Once they do that, then we submit the score, and you'll see it in your gradebook, and I'll show you that in a second. And then for the practice assignments, so once this load, so I've already kind of jumped through this. I had previously kind of went through this assignment, so this is why it's already showing as an attempt was made. But I will point out on these reports here, so it gives you kind of a breakdown. This is, again, this is the student view. So you're seeing like how many they got correct, best streak, time spent. If I scroll down here, you see the number of questions that were asked, what's the breakdown from easy to medium to hard. And then down here, you can actually see the content of the questions themselves. So it's telling you what they got right, what they got wrong, what question was asked, and what the correct answer was. And then for the students, the important thing for them is that if they're happy with this attempt, what they want to do is click this turn in button, and then they would click turn in, or if they want to keep going, they keep practicing. If they keep practicing and they get a higher score, they can turn it in again. So if I were to go through this and get 100, I've already submitted this score of 80, but if I go through this again and I say I get 100, I can click turn in again, and it'll submit that updated score. And that's if the assignment isn't, if you haven't set a due date and it's still eligible to be submitted. And so I think, let me show you the gradebook, because for the most part, the practice and the Plix and the Sims have the most interaction. Everything else, once you open it, it's going to submit the score automatically. So it's nothing exciting there. But let me show you the sort of the gradebooks. And this is still the student view. So see, these haven't been submitted, but for that practice, where I said I had submitted previously, here's the score. And then we have the Plix, and also there's a prom night simulation. So that's the student's view of it. Let me quickly jump back over to the teacher side, and then I can pause for a second and answer any questions you might have with Canvas, and then I'll jump right into Schoology. Okay. Oh no. Okay, there we are. So now we're on the teacher. So in that same class, let me pull up the gradebook here. So you can see there's a couple students here. You see the same scores. And the only thing, so you see all the assignments here, possible amount of points. But let me kind of show you for the practice. So I'm going to click on the student here. And for this practice assignment, we have an attached URL. So this link that it's showing is that report that you were seeing for the student. So for practice assignments, we attach these reports as well. And this, unfortunately, this isn't supported in Schoology. So for Canvas, you'll get this, but right now in Schoology, they don't support that. So as soon as they add support for it, it'll be there. But so looking at this report here, it's exactly what you saw for the student. And if I scroll down, you still get that same information, the questions that were asked, what they got wrong, etc. And so there I'll go ahead and stop and maybe take if there's any questions for Canvas. If not, I can jump right into Schoology.
Thanks, Felix. The biggest questions we have been getting, maybe I'll try to answer. The one about like who should fill out the form, how do I know if my form's still valid? If you are kind of the point person for installing Canvas or Schoology within your district or your school, you're the person that should fill out that LTI key request. If you have questions about updates to your account and whether or not it still works, or you're not sure who that point person is or who installed it beforehand, you can email support@ck12.org and we can look that up for you. We don't have access to account information in this room, but you could email support and they can help you. The other kind of big question we were getting a bunch of things for was, if I'm trying to assign it, I only see CK-12 in Google Classroom, or where are my grades showing up? For Canvas and Schoology, all of the work is done within that platform. So if you're customizing content, that's probably the only time you would need to be on CK12.org. For assignments and grade reports, you're staying within the Canvas and Schoology platform. You're going to pull up that content, assign it there, and see student progress there. So just keep that in mind, that you're not jumping back and forth between CK12 and your platform. You're going to pull that all up within that platform. And then the only other question that we have is actually related to Schoology. So as you go through and you do your demo, they were asking that in CK12, I set up different classes to differentiate, like CK12 classes. Within Schoology, I have groups within my class. And if you can just maybe talk about that as you're talking about assigning in pieces, that would be great.
Okay, yes. So I think you're saying, so in Schoology you're using groups. I'm not sure that, I don't have any groups here. So I have courses, and I'm not sure if you can create the same assignments for groups. But you can definitely do it for a course. And I'm not quite sure how they differentiate. I think if I remember correctly, the groups in Schoology were just more for communication. I don't recall them having like an assignment piece. But I can, if you want to email support, we can look into that. But I don't believe that you can do assignments from there. But definitely is supported for the courses. So right now I'm in such course. I'm in the materials section. And what you're going to do once you have the app installed, if you click on the add materials dropdown, you should see our app there. It's the CK-12 app. And I'm just going to go ahead and click on that. And it's going to look identical to what we just saw with Canvas. So again, you have all your subjects here. I can pick a different one maybe. I think last time I did a practice, so, or actually maybe I can show you guys the Plix too. So let me click on this. And as you see, it still opens up in a separate window. So this is the Plix browse page. So from here, you can browse any of these subjects that we have available. There's quite a few that the Plix kind of cover. For simulations, it's currently just chemistry and physics. But for the Plix, as you can see, we cover a lot of different subjects. So once you're on this browse page, it's similar to what we did for the Sims. Once you see something that you like, click on it and it's going to load. And then up here, you'll see the create assignment. If you guys are using CK-12 groups at all, this normally says assign a class, but when you're in the context of like Canvas and Schoology, through the LTI apps, it's going to say create assignment anywhere that says assign a class. So if you're familiar with that workflow, this might be pretty familiar as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on that. It does the exact same thing, except this time the workflow is a little bit different within Schoology. So the one thing I will do is after you create the assignment, you're going to want to edit. Notice that the grading isn't enabled by default. So if you want to get a grade sent back, you have to enable the grading. And then you can set points, due date, and then category. I think in some cases, if you set this to ungraded, even though the points are there, if they turn it in, it doesn't show up it doesn't show up properly in the gradebook. So make sure you're having a category assigned and not using the ungraded, because I have seen some confusion there within Schoology, not being able to see the scores. And then once they select a category, then it shows up. So that's another kind of gotcha there. The biggest one is making sure you have the grading enabled if you do want to see the scores passed back. And then the rest of the stuff is kind of up to you. But from there, you should be good. And then if I click on this to open it, I think in Schoology, they're pretty good about giving you a wide enough window. So you most likely won't get that weird menu or image telling you need more real estate. And this is the teacher view, so there's no turn in option here. If I go back to the materials section, I can open up a simulation assignment just to make sure. So because there was also no option to open it in a new window, but I think they do have this full screen option. And if you do this with the sims, it's going to refresh. So that's what happens. Anytime it's resized, it kind of recalculates. Let me open this back and launch one more. I don't think I showed you guys the search, but since the apps are the same, there's not much. There's no difference really, but let's go. So if I do this, so it pulls up our search. So you can search things if you want to find something a little quicker. The other thing you can do is if you're on CK-12 directly, maybe I can show you guys that. So I'm going to close this for a second, and I'm going to go to CK-12. So the other thing is once you launch the app on Schoology or Canvas, the LTI app, if you go to CK-12 directly, you'll be logged in as that account. And one thing I forgot to mention during the setup piece, if you have an existing account on CK-12 and then you're using like Schoology or Canvas, if you want to sync those accounts, the thing that we do is check to see if the emails are the same. So if you're using the same email in either of those platforms, then we'll link it to the right account. If for some reason that doesn't happen, you can send an email to support. And I would suggest maybe doing that before creating assignments. So if you're on there and you're maybe going through your library and you don't see anything, send an email to support and we can make that happen for you, just so that they're sort of paired. So now I'm on CK-12. So if you wanted to maybe bookmark things for later, you can do that. And this might help if you're going through and sort of building up assignments. So let's say we wanted to, let's do this video. There's this add to library. So if you do that, it will add it to your library. So that's the scientific theory. If I go back here and launch this app, so if you have like a bunch of things that you're kind of browsing and as you see, you can sort of do that. That doesn't require you to customize anything. So you don't have to edit to save it. You always have that option. And if I do added to library filter, so here's our video. So you do have these filters also. So if you just want things that you've created, you can do that. And this is the same if you're on the site. It's the same filters that are there. But that's pretty much it. I'll go ahead and stop here and then we can answer some questions.
So Felix, I have one question in here right now that I'm going to have you answer, and then to be mindful of time, I'll do some wrap up. And if you guys have more questions coming in, we'll switch back and answer questions at the end per usual. And this question is there a way to add directions to your assignment in Schoology? They see the point value and pieces, but they can't add directions. So I don't know if you can just open up that workflow for a second and see if you can add a set of directions. That would be great.
Yes, so let's see. I do not see that here. I'm going to say no. That's a good question. Yeah, I don't see this custom parameters it's more related to our application. So I wouldn't type anything there. And so no, I don't see an option to do that. Maybe you could submit something to Schoology and have them do that, see if they'd add it for you. But yeah, I don't see anything here. I think the way that they configure these are called LTI assignments or external tool assignments, they probably don't have that option. So.
Great, thanks. I think with that, I'm gonna steal this screen back for a second just to wrap some stuff up. And that way, if you have no questions, you're welcome to slide on out. If you do have any questions, feel free to keep posting those in Q&A. So just a reminder, we showed you that quick link to ck12.org/tools and apps. You can find out information there, grab a link to that LTI request form on that page, and then see other integration as well as our CK-12 apps there. So check that out if you haven't. If you want to learn more about assignments, if you're saying, okay, well, what gets turned in where? How does that all work? What's adaptive practice? How can I customize it into a quizzes? You can see all of those recorded sessions. We don't have any live ones left this summer, but we will do more this coming school year. Or you can view the recording in Google Classroom. There's also one on an LMS breakout like this one for CK-12 and Google Class. Somehow, when I was visiting a number of schools this year, a bunch of them were using both Google Classroom and one of these other learning management systems. So definitely feel free to check those recordings or join us in the future. We have our session resource page. I pinged that in the chat window earlier today. I will do that again if we have a second at the end of this. And then you can see kind of those are also in the CEP Google Class and have information on Schoology and Canvas particularly, and then that getting started with CK-12 adaptive practice and assignments might be useful for you as well. Our feedback form, this isn't a course session, there's no assignment, but please feel free to email us any thoughts that you have on this particular webinar or our other webinars using that feedback form. If I get out of Keynote and have a chance, otherwise I'll post it in the chat window, but if not, you can find it in Google Classroom. And then we have a bunch of live chats coming up on Friday. I did just post those in the chat window before I switch back over to Keynote, so you can directly register for whichever one or more than one you think you would like to join on Friday and talk to other educators. You'll be able to turn on your mic, turn on your video if you want, and have a discussion. So with that, thank you for joining us. We're going to switch back to questions in a second, but you're welcome to email us at jumpstart@ck12.org with any questions. If you have specific account questions, please email support@ck12.org, and you can always share or link with us on social media using @CK12 Foundation or #CK12. So we have some separate pieces. The first question here says, I know you said not to create separate CK-12 classes, but the reports are beneficial. Why not create separate CK-12 classes? So I'm going to let Felix take that.
Sure. So, I mean, you're more than welcome to create classes. The only thing is you would have to manage them separately. So, for instance, if you say you have your class set up on Schoology, you're going to then have to go into CK-12 and create those classes in CK-12, as well as either have the students join. So they're going to have to either create accounts on their own, or you can create the accounts for them and then add them to the group. So it's a little more management, but you could definitely do that. And then for the reports, you'd have to go in and then take whatever score that you want and then input it into the gradebook manually. So depending on how many classes and how many students, that could be intensive. Reporting wise, I mean, the students will be able to see their report. So if you wanted to, I'm not sure if it's beneficial to have them screenshot it to you, they could do that. But you're more than welcome to do that. Unfortunately, in Schoology right now, the report isn't attached. So I know that's kind of a downside, but you can do that if you'd like.
Thanks, Felix. We have a couple of questions specifically related to Google Classroom and where you can find all your resources. So I just switched over from Keynote to Classroom. This is your Certified Educator Program page. you can find, let's say, so for example, this is LMS Breakout, CK-12, and Canvas and Schoology. I would click on that particular topic on the left nav bar. You have your general description, a link to our tools and apps page, a link to the LTI application, some kind of general information, our Help Center articles, and that session resource page. And that would be similar in terms of we post links that are useful as well as all session resource pages under the matching topic. If you're looking for an assignment for a different session, those would be there as well. So hopefully that helps. And then starting tomorrow, this Beyond the CK-12 Certified Educator Program will have all of that final information and videos and the assignment and everything in that particular session. So I think with that, we're actually out of questions. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you on one of our last webinars in the next day or so or this coming school year.